Hey, what's up guys? Mod Knight here. I'd like to welcome you all back to JAX One Trick Explains. Today, we're looking at the philosophy of a man whose works are as controversial as they are revolutionarily depressing. I'm talking of course about the great 19th century thinker Friedrich Nietzsche and his thoughts on the death of God. So, without further ado, just sit back, get comfy, and let's talk philosophy. In the everyday conversation, we usually hear about Nietzsche's contributions to philosophy in terms of radical misinterpretations. On one hand, New Age atheists like to use Nietzsche as some looming proof that God does not exist, usually attributing his proclamation of the death of God as some victory in humanity's march towards progress. On the other hand, religious folk often blame Nietzsche for spreading the disbelief and agnosticism we see in today's society. Neither of these interpretations is totally accurate. But what does Nietzsche actually mean when he says that God is dead? To answer this, we can take a look at an excerpt from Nietzsche's book, The Gay Science, where he tells the tale of a madman who stumbles upon a group of Sunday churchgoers in the market. The madman jumped into their midst and pierced them with his eyes. "Whither is God?" he cried. "I will tell you. We have killed him, you and I. All of us are his murderers. But how did we do this? How could we drink up the sea? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the whole horizon? What were we doing when we unchained the earth from its sun? Whither is it moving now? Whither are we moving? Away from all suns? Are we not plunging continually? Backwards, sidewards, forwards, in all directions? Is there still any up or down? Are we not straying as through an infinite nothing? Do we not feel the breath of empty space? Has it not become colder? Is not night continually closing in on us? Do we need to light lanterns in the morning? So we hear nothing as yet of the noise of the grave diggers who are burying God? Do we smell nothing as yet of a divine decomposition? Gods too decompose. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was the holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? There has never been a greater deed, and whoever is born after us, for the sake of this deed, he will belong to a higher history than all history hitherto. Nietzsche's parable speaks volumes about the problems of a post-religious society. Most prominently, he confronts the problem of moral relativism in the face of meaninglessness. You see, when God is dead, there is no heaven, no hell, and there is no clear definition of what is good and what is evil. Our moral compasses no longer point anywhere. Suddenly, we realize there is no predefined morality, and the compasses spin in all directions, as if at a magnetic pole. There is no longer any up, and no longer any down. Note that Nietzsche does not actually believe that a God ever existed. Rather, we have killed the idea of God, and all of the ideology, morality, and beliefs that this God once entailed. Nietzsche suggests that this realization makes our civilization radically free. When the skeptic and the scientist prevail, society is forced to confront the fact that it defines its own rules, that there aren't set codes of living. However, with this radical freedom comes a radical freedom from morality. There's no one to tell us what to do anymore, no standard by which to measure oneself, no punishment to accompany any action, and no eternal reward. While some people like to frame this idea in a progressivist way, Nietzsche very well knew and suggested how disastrous the end of this religious moral regime would be for humanity. This is because, quite simply, with the murder of God comes the chaos of meaninglessness. Humans, Nietzsche suggests, constantly strive for meaning, even when there is none to be found. This is one of the great ironies employed in Nietzsche's work. In his parable, while there is no longer a God to suggest any good or evil action, the madman still feels guilt for the supposed murder. The madman looks for rituals to atone, offerings to give, anything to appease the void left in God's wake. Likewise, Nietzsche suggests that humans strive for the comforting embrace of morality, the warmth of a clear definition between good and evil. But with no God, we suddenly fall into moral relativism. In this sense, Nietzsche predicts the terrible conflicts that would come to plague the 20th century. If we look at the plagues of Nazism and Bolshevism under this light, we slowly realize that these movements were not just regimes of political stature, but also regimes of meaning, an attempt to fill the void that God once occupied. For example, Marx and Lenin shunned religious or capitalist morality in the favor of a new ideal, a revolution against a supposedly evil capitalist class. Hitler would also turn towards a discourse of social Darwinism to fill the void, calling for a purge of the evil and the unwanted. Jews, homosexuals, the disabled, and many others were included on this list. In both cases, a religious sense of right and wrong was thrown out of the window to achieve new parodies of morality. The result? Such colossally abysmal tragedies as the Holocaust, Hitler's final solution to Germany's moral problem, and Stalin's purges in the name of a more equitable society, causing many to ask indeed if there was any God left to turn to. Of course, Nietzsche does not simply leave us to our existential despair. He spends time working through our angst and suggests ways of navigating a morally incredulous world, especially through the introduction of his famous Overman. But that's an idea for a different time and a different video. Anyways guys, thank you all for watching. This channel is still really new and growing. Even so, I'm enjoying making these, so if you are enjoying the ride, feel free to like or subscribe. As always, if you liked what you saw, want to talk about it, or have any suggestions for new topics, don't hesitate to comment below. Anyways, that's all that I had to say. I'll see you all in the next video. Mod Night out.